would you suggest, or have you personally seek medical help from a psychiatrist, going to actual sessions, you know what I mean? Or maybe even, getting medication for anxiety and depression?
Yeah, so after my car crash, and I do see that moment as a gift, a huge gift, uh, because it gave me that moment of, wait a minute, I'm not Tavi Castro, I'm Octavio, I'm just a person, and objects and these people do not determine who I am. At, of course, at that moment, I couldn't define it that way, so it took a lot of searching and it took a lot of reading. Some of the books that I really recommend to anybody are the books by Eckhart Tolle called The Power of Now, Deepak Chopra, if we're watching, Osho. These are very Lao Tzu as well. If you read into those books, it talks and defines time, like how I just defined it for you, and it allows you to identify what is your meditation. So a lot of people, like I said, they don't realize it, but training is a meditation. Going to the gym is a meditation. Jumping out of an airplane is meditation. Some people taking drugs so that they're in the moment is a form of meditation, an unhealthy form, of course. But I think to get out of that loop is to identify what it is that allows you to regain control of your mind. And this year, of course, I had again, a lot of struggle, but I was more prepared to handle it. I was able to meditate away the anxiety and the depressions. Um, but of course, it was again a very difficult year business-wise for me, dealing with the hostile takeover and things like that. So um, what actually was really beautiful, I had this idea, I'm going to go for the Mr. Olympia, because I knew in my mind, I'm going into a very difficult time now. I'm going to have to be busy with the business, but I need to train. I need to force myself to train because I know how important it is for me now. So I created an immense amount of accountability by reaching out to Barry DeMay, a very good friend of mine, a legend in bodybuilding. And I said, hey, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for the classic physique category at the Mr. Olympia. And this will give me the drive of something I have control of to put myself in the gym, so force myself to meditate in a sense. And then being in contact with Barry, that also allowed me to identify that I have ADHD, and that of course led to a lot of sessions with a psychologist, and eventually led to a psychiatrist who I explained my entire situation to. And of course, the first thing they will try to prescribe you is sleeping pills to make sure at least you're sleeping. So of course I do have to control my sleeping if I notice I'm not sleeping properly. There are a lot of things like antidepressants but in my research, in order to try to heal myself and my mind, I also came across a lot of information on marijuana. So I do smoke marijuana. I live in the Netherlands, so it's of course completely
Does
okay.
it does it help you, or does it just mask the problem? Because a lot of people, they smoke, and then they feel better, but then it's sort of like a masking thing. It doesn't have long-term effects. What is your how do you feel about it?
Right. So the way that I use it is before I go to sleep. It allows you to sleep better. So sometimes if I don't want to use sleeping pills, it
To
does help
relax you, right? Mm.
with the sleep. But it also slows you down. It slows you down mentally in a way that pendulum, right? Anxiety, depression suddenly goes like this. And then if you're able to smoke and then meditate, you can really stop and give you the rest that you need and the insight that you need to go, oh, you know what? Do I really have a problem right now? No, right? Those problems, the fear of the future, like it's fear that it's not real, right? You think it may be real at some point, but that's what creates anxiety. So definitely smoking marijuana, not throughout the day, because it just makes you completely unproductive. Unless you're a very creative person in the studio, it might help. But it definitely has healing effects for anybody who's struggling to control their depression, anxiety. And the other thing that I also discovered, which really, really helped a lot, was in fact magic mushrooms. So in that same
No,
period,
tell me about that actually, because I heard it's becoming popular. It's making a comeback, the mushrooms, and also, you ever heard of ayahuasca?
Yeah, that's actually something that me and Yanita have planned for in the short future.
Were you guys
Yeah,
gonna go to Costa Rica or something, or Latin
they
America?
they do it here in Amsterdam
Oh,
as
really?
well.
Okay.
They're originally here in Amsterdam. Yeah, so about 2 months after that car crash, and I was kind of looking for that. What happened with that car crash is before that I was an aerospace engineer. Physics, God doesn't exist, spirituality doesn't exist. It's all crazy. I was very atheist in that sense. But then after I got that feeling, I thought there's something else. I'm missing something. And that's why I'm having all these issues and I'm not enjoying my life as much as people are seeing on my Instagram. So, of course, that moment came. I looked into what it could be. And of course, I came across those books. I came across Psychedelics. And when I was in Bali with a good friend of mine, um, there it was available at the Gili Islands, and of course I was completely scared and I didn't want to try it. Did a little bit more research, told him, hey, let's try it. We were in the jungle. I want to see what happens, and what I see, what I feel, was the most profound experience that I've ever had.
What did you experience?
So what the magic mushrooms basically do with you is they can destroy your ego. They can actually accelerate ego death. So when I mean ego death is, here's Tavi Castro, the influencer, the entrepreneur, how people see you. When you take psychedelics, you're just a human. Suddenly you're at peace and you realize everything you're seeing, everything you desire is not really, it doesn't really define you, right? And it also kind of changes the way that you set out to your goals. So a lot of people think, yeah, being in the moment, you have no ambitions, you're not going to get anywhere in life. But there's a big difference between, the way that you perceive it. You can say, in the future, I really want that Ferrari, I really want that big house, and until I get there, I'm not happy, right? Or if you're conscious, if you're present, what you will say to yourself, hey, I have food on the table, I have a roof over my head, the sun is shining, I feel good, I'm healthy. Great, that's amazing. And I'm still gonna work, and maybe one day I'm gonna have that Ferrari and that house. You know, there's a big difference. If you turn your current life into an insignificant stepping stone to a future that might never happen, then you will constantly have anxiety. So that's a insight that actually can come out of an experience with ayahuasca. Is actually the most powerful catalyst for something like that. Is you create something called ego death, which means that you separate yourself from this identity that's not really real.
Interesting. That's very interesting. So, as a practical advice for a lot of the people in the fitness industry, right, that going through depression, anxiety, that even before the quarantine, I'm sure this has been an ongoing issue. What advice would you give? Would you say seek, medical attention if you really feel like you're really depressed? Would that be the real advice that you give? I mean, because the whole self-discovery, like you mentioned, that can go either way.
Yeah, so definitely, if you notice in yourself that you're just not happy, you're constantly flipping between anxiety, depression. The books I mentioned, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, all the books from Osho, very Buddhist type of thoughts. They're amazing to start to identify with yourself why you're thinking like this, why you're feeling like this, and to allow you to break out of it so that you don't end up at the end killing yourself, because it's not necessary. Because even if you lose everything in your life, or if all the fears that you have of the future actually manifest, it doesn't matter, because that's not you. So seek a psychologist, read those books, and really try to think for yourself, what is it that I love to do? Make music, train, and make sure you're doing that, and make sure that's allowing you to take a break mentally. So you're not gonna be present the whole day. You said it yourself. What happens when you go out of the gym and all those thoughts come back in? As time goes on and you start to understand why you're having anxiety and why you're having depression, the time that it takes for you to calm down and be at peace because you meditate and identify with it, um, gets shorter. So before, when something really bad happened and threw my anxiety, depression into this, it might take me months to stop. Right? Then it started taking me weeks, days, and then now give me a day and I'll be peaceful again.
Do you think social media can be actually a very bad influence on people who are going through depression? Because, you know, when you go on Instagram, everybody's happy, right? Everybody's having a good time. Everybody's successful. Also, these headlines all the time, you know, people doing great things in business. If you're not doing so good, you know, I'm sure it's going to depress you, even though those people might not be doing as well as you might think, you know.
Exactly.
I feel like it can be definitely one of the tools to continue your depression and anxiety in many ways.
Yeah, so social media can have a really, really bad effect on mental health. I mean, I think Instagram has even been, and Facebook has been trying to improve their algorithms and improve their community guidelines the past year or two because of all the negative publicity that they've been getting from de- depressed kids, depressed teenagers who are, they're seeing this person that they want to be like, but their life is nothing like that, and that makes them feel horrible. But that, of course, links exactly to what I've been talking about. Somebody on social media is a fake identity. It's an identity that is being put out there, but until you realize that even the people you're seeing are not the people that are behind the pictures, then it's difficult for you to understand that for yourself. So it can definitely, if you don't have the right mindset, it can accelerate depression and anxiety. And that's why social media, if used properly, should be a source of inspiration, motivation, information, and not a source of, oh my God, my life is shit compared to that other person. So that once a person understands that, then they can utilize social media more efficiently and safer.